This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. As the days get shorter and colder, it can really take a toll on how we feel. Maybe that means calling your grandma, writing a letter to your friend, finally grabbing lunch with someone you haven't seen in a while. And just like reaching out to a friend, starting therapy can take a bit of courage. BetterHelp makes it easy to start therapy. You'll be matched with a licensed therapist based on your needs and preferences so you can focus on your growth and goals. Not happy with your match? You can switch therapists anytime with no hassle. This month, don't wait to reach out, whether that's checking in on a friend or reaching out to a therapist yourself. BetterHelp makes it easier to take that first step. And our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/PFF. That's betterhelp.com/PFF.
Let's talk about the Lions and the Commanders. You want to talk about the Commanders? You want to talk about the Detroit Lions? Both these teams coming off losses, looking to bounce back. Where we're starting with this one, Dalton.
I'm going to talk about just one particular guy on this Lions defense, and it's not Aiden Hutchinson, who we've talked about plenty. It's not Al-Qadim Muhammad. It's not the great safety pair that we know we have back there with Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph. I got to tell you something. I'm just watching some Lions tape last night and this morning going, you know what? Trev, Jack Campbell absolutely rules. You want just a solid middle linebacker. Remember a couple of years ago when, man, they were coming off the heels of taking a running back 12th overall, and, of course, PFF hates running backs, and we're already killing that move. And then 6 picks later, they take a linebacker from Iowa in the first round, and everybody in the football world goes, what in the world are you doing right now, taking these considered non-premium positions, right? What are the Lions doing? What is Dan Campbell? Is he a lunatic? And the answer might be yes, but also, boy, this Jack Campbell pick is working a couple of years later, because you look at his third year in the NFL with Fred Warner out for the season. I think you could argue Campbell is the best linebacker in football right now. Third in PFF grade, first in run defense grade. Trevor, his run defense tape, if you've gone through it at all this year, it's an absolute coach's clinic. The way that he reads offensive lines and sees and lets his eyes take his feet to where he needs to be to the football is unbelievable. Top 15 in coverage, 11 pressures and 4 sacks this year as a blitzer so far. This dude is everywhere. You talk about last year he broke out into a solid starter. He's putting his case in right now for being the best linebacker playing in football. I think he's just been all over the place, and you look at the way especially that he cleans up the run game, and that's going to be key in this game against Washington. We know they have success when they can run the football. It's going to be Marcus Mariota. They're still going to want to emphasize the run game in this game plan with Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, with Chris Rodriguez, with whoever else. Jack Campbell is the guy shutting all that down right now, and he's been really good in the passing game as well. I think he just needs recognition as I think turning into a superstar at this position.
I love it. I love that recognition there. I love the deep dive into Jack Campbell tape because it matters a lot. And he's one of those football players that very much that they prioritized when they were going through that draft. And he has manifested about as well as they could have asked for him too. The Lions offensive line, I'm a little bit worried about this unit. I know on the defense side of the ball, you talked about not being worried at the second level with Jack Campbell, all that. I'm a little worried about what the Lions have on their offensive line because their success over the last couple of years has been just ass kickers up front. They've really been great on the offensive line. Penei Sewell was the only offensive lineman that they had last week who graded above a 65 for an overall blocking grade. Now, this week, they might not have Sewell. They might not have Taylor Decker. They know they're not going to have Christian Mahogany. There's just a lot of unknown on that offensive line. And a big reason why the Vikings were able to get the win over Detroit, and something that we sort of pointed out afterwards, was the lack of explosiveness that they've had from the run game. And when this team has been operating at its best over the last couple of years, it's because they've been explosive out of the backfield with their backs. And not only were they not really able to do that last week against Minnesota, now it seems like they're going to be very short-handed along the offensive line. So that's a tough ask. Now, they're playing a Commanders team that the run defense grade's barely above a 60, so it's not like this is one of the best, run defense units in the NFL. They still could get it going, and ultimately, I do still have the Lions winning this game. I just think they're the better team, especially with Jaden Daniels not out there to be dynamic for the Commanders at the quarterback position. All due respect to Marcus Mariota, who has played well as a QB2 there for them. I just don't think the Commanders can stack up against Detroit right now, but I think it's got a chance to be closer than people believe, especially Vegas. That line, 8.5 right now. I got Lions 27, Commanders 22. I think that this one's going to be within striking distance at the end because I'm not convinced that the Lions are going to be able to pull away the way that they want to with the offensive line as banged up as it is. So I think game's going to be a little bit closer, but I do still have the Lions winning.
I'm going to go with the Lions a little bit bigger than that, 34-20. I think the big advantage they have, and look, if they struggle a bit to run the football with their offensive line banged up, that is one thing. But the biggest advantage they have is their set of weapons. When you have St. Brown and Jamison Williams and Sam Laporta against this Washington secondary that's been one of the 2 or 3 worst in the league, I think that's just too big an advantage. As long as Jared Goff is clean enough back there in the pocket, and we've seen games before this year like the Cleveland game where it's just, hey, get rid of the football and let these guys do the work on the outside. I think you have a scenario here where the Lions are just going to score a lot of points. It's going to be too much for Washington. 34-20 Detroit.